Welcome back to 30 at 6 on Cecil TV. I'm Allison Donnelly.
And I'm Rob Churnside, and we're 1 week away, Allison, from Memorial Day.
Yes, we are. It's going to be a big weekend in Cecil County. We've got the Fair Hill races on Saturday, and of course, the annual Memorial Day parade on Monday.
In Elkton. Yep. I'll be in it.
Yeah.
With the Bayou Bangers, and anybody else that wants to join out there at TV Land, come on down and meet at the Newberry's parking lot at 9 o'clock on Memorial Day morning and march with us.
Very cool.
No training necessary. I just got off my tractor before I came up here.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. My grass was about this high.
I believe it.
From all the rain. It's great to get it cut, and I haven't really worn out my infatuation with the tractor this season. You know what I mean? It's fun.
Yeah, I bet. Also, happy birthday.
Why, thank you, thank you. We kind of like to let them slide by at this point.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But I did get this shirt.
Oh, that's a nice shirt.
The guys on the big news guys wear, those check shirts.
Oh, yes.
Gives you a certain je ne sais quoi.
Yes.
I got plenty of that.
Speaking of news, now the news. County Executive Alan McCarthy announced last week that he will withdraw the wastewater rate resolution from his FY19 budget. There was to be an increase in wastewater user fees from $10.32 to $15.70, phased in over 3 years. The county's Finance and Public Works departments will review possible options and present them to Dr. McCarthy and the council. The county estimates this to take at least 45 days, which means any changes to the current fee schedule would need to be implemented through a budget amendment. For more details on this issue, check out our interview with Nancy Schwartzler of the Cecil Times on last week's 30 at 6. Effective July 1, Dr. Jeffrey Lawson will take over the role of Superintendent of Cecil County Public Schools, soon to be vacated by Dr. Diet Devine. This follows a national search and selection process by the Board of Education. Dr. Lawson is no stranger to Cecil County. He has been at the school system for the last 9 years and currently serves as the Associate Superintendent of Education Services. In exciting news for Fair Hill and Cecil County at large, the International Equestrian Sports Governing Body has endorsed Fair Hill International to host a premier 4-star or 5-star 3-day eventing competition in 2020. Fair Hill will become one of 7 locations to receive this endorsement. The Maryland Board of Public Works has authorized $1 million for infrastructure upgrades at Fair Hill Nature Center in anticipation of the site hosting an International Equestrian event. By the way, the Fair Hill races are coming up on May 26th. If you haven't gotten tickets yet, you may purchase them online at fairhillraces.com. Attention all gardeners. The Cecil County Watershed Stewards Academy is looking for volunteers to help with a native plant demonstration garden at the Mary Randall Center in Elkton this week. They'll be working from 9 a.m. till noon on Wednesday, May 23rd and on Wednesday, May 30th. For more information, visit www.volunteercecil.org. For the 2018 primary election, the deadline to change your party, affiliation, or address is June 5th. To change your party affiliation, use Maryland's online voter registration system or submit a paper application to the Cecil County Board of Elections. And now a message from our sponsors.
I'm home! Wow, it's hot in here.
Grandma says call the Moon Man.
Moon Man, the AC is out and my family is melted!
At your service! There you go! Mission accomplished!
Thanks, Moon Man!
The house is nice and cool again. Moon Man, you're awesome. You're welcome. Just go to moonair8.com. For out of this world service, moonair8.com.
Kevin Urich is a candidate for state's attorney.
I ask for your help protecting the elderly. Too often seniors suffer physical abuse, emotional abuse, financial exploitation, abandonment, and neglect. When elected state's attorney, I will advocate for the elderly. I will bring together police, social workers, nurses, doctors, and others dedicated to protecting and caring for the elderly. I am Kevin Urich, and I approved this message.
Paid for by friends of Kevin Urich, Vicki Richards, treasurer. The Cecil TV weather forecast. Showers and possibly a thunderstorm, mainly before 10 p.m., then a chance of showers and thunderstorms after 10 p.m., a low around 64. Wednesday, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms before 2 p.m., partly sunny with a high near 81. Thank you.
In the studio with us this evening is Delegate Kevin Hornberger. Kevin represents District 35A here in Cecil County. Kevin, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Allison. Really appreciate it.
So, the 2018 legislative session ended back in April.
It did.
What were the highs and lows for Cecil County this year?
Well, we actually had a number of local bills that we got passed, as we have in past years. One of which expands the collective bargaining agreement for the sheriff's office, so it adds a few key staff into the CBA. And the other one was really helped out the citizens. We actually are one of the last counties that has mandatory training, tips training for bartenders and people that serve alcohol. So this will increase the number of folks that need to be trained, and it'll make the restaurants and our streets safer because it'll give the staff the ability to cite someone when they're had too much to drink.
Right.
Yep. So we got both of those passed. Those are sort of the local bills. And then we had a number of larger bills, statewide initiatives that we worked very hard on, probably the biggest of which was a tax cut for military personnel. So we've actually been working on that for the last 4 years. So to be able to push it over the top this year, I think is going to have a real positive impact because a lot of our veterans were leaving because they couldn't afford the taxes. So that's also very exciting.
So there have been so many developments in the past few years toward economic growth for Cecil County, especially with the arrival of employers like Amazon and Lidl.
That's correct, yep.
As a delegate, what can you do to attract higher paying jobs to support middle class families? Sure,
we have to diversify our employment streams here. And I tell you, any job is better than no job at all. I'm very happy to see the Amazon warehouse, True Air, etc. These are all very important jobs, and we've had one of the largest job growths in the state over the last 4 years. Now, as far as diversifying, get those higher income jobs, I was actually lucky enough last night to attend the Orbital ATK launch down at Wallops Island.
Oh, cool.
So as many of the viewers know, we actually have an Orbital ATK here in Cecil County. And one of the things that a gentleman from the administration brought forward is that the space race is back on. We're going to be going back to the moon, and we're also going to be going to Mars, hopefully within the next 4 years. So that means great expansions for places like ATK, and hopefully that means expansion of high-tech jobs.
Right.
So by doing those sort of partnerships, we also have Aberdeen Proving Ground, which is in close proximity, and we're working with University of Maryland and University of Delaware to start an incubator. So we can have some high-tech students working on different things, getting patents, etc., and that'll help diversify our employment. Very exciting.
Very cool.
Yep.
So you don't have a primary challenger. You're the presumptive nominee for the primary on June 26th.
That's correct.
But you have an opponent in Democrat Jo Beth Bowers. Why should voters re-elect you?
Well, 4 years ago when I ran, I put out a pretty bold sort of platform that we didn't have to have any more tax increases, that we didn't have to have any more fee increases, that we needed to stabilize our spending and get money back to the taxpayer. And this was after we endured 8 years of 40 consecutive tax increases and fee increases, and our state was heading in the wrong direction. Employers were leaving, employers were going out of business. I ran with Governor Larry Hogan, who at the time, just like myself, had never been involved in politics. And people took a chance on us. They really did, because there were so many incumbents, there was just a status quo. The voter wanted something different. And we've been able to deliver in the last 4 years on those promises. And all we're asking the voter is to give us more opportunities to continue to lower those taxes and continue to protect our rights. And that's why I think I'm the best candidate. Experience matters.
How do you think that you can balance those tax cuts with curbing spending in other areas and also increasing revenue in other areas?
One of the biggest observations is that when we ran, of course, we ran on lower taxes, but really what the major problem was is that our spending was out of control. Automatic refunding with increases every year, even though we were going into deficit budget cycles, not pay attention to our debt and paying down our debt. Our debt service has increased greatly during the O'Malley years. By focusing on paying down that debt, we put more money in our pockets and we put more money in agencies as opposed to paying off that debt. We've also got better bond ratings, and we're being a better steward of the taxpayers' money. One perfect example is the pension fund. Our pension fund for many years was underperforming, so we'd have to front load more money into it to make up for those losses. But by switching to an actuarial model now, we're getting better yields for lower cost. So those are just some very small examples on very big ticket items of way that we're doing a better job of spending the taxpayer dollars.
You've mentioned that bringing money back to Cecil County is one of your priorities. So how will you go about doing that?
Well, one of the things that we notice is that as far as equity goes, taxpayers' dollars we pay to the state, usually in the form of property tax, that those were being redistributed in central Maryland and more of the urban areas.
Right.
So one of the things that we worked on over the last 4 years, along with my colleagues in the Cecil delegation, was returning some of that equity back to Cecil. Some of our biggest projects that we've taken on and funded would be the Perry Point Veterans Housing.
Right.
That was $24 million alone. This was a project that languished for almost 10 years previous to myself being elected. And now I'm happy to say that it's fully funded. We were also able to leverage donor dollars with folks like Home Depot and Norfolk Grumman that also brought money in. So it doesn't always have to be about taxpayer dollars. You also mentioned earlier in your program about the 4-star and 5-star program.
Right.
Very exciting. I got to work on that since day one. And we've got our first commitment of $1 million from the BPW. That's hard money. Now that we have that commitment, you're going to see donors start to show up. They're expecting the total price tag of that to be $20 million. That's a tremendous amount of money.
Right.
But by bringing on those donors, by looking at different things like open space money, that's where that million came from, we can kind of dip into those other pots, bring some of that funding back to Cecil County. So those are two big ticket examples where we've been able to be very successful.
Yeah. There's a growing sense of urgency around school safety, and the shooting at the high school in Texas last week is a tragic reminder of that. This past year, you supported a ban on bump stocks in Maryland.
That's correct.
Do you expect more legislation to be aimed at school safety, and what will be your approach to that?
So as you may know and the viewers at home may know, I'm very pro Second Amendment. I actually ran on a platform of that, and we had a few bills passed before I got elected that I thought were a little too restrictive and went too far. In terms of the bump stock, a bump stock is a device for the viewers at home that basically takes a semi-automatic weapon and turns it into a fully automatic weapon.
Right.
As you know, fully automatic weapons are banned. This was sort of a hack, if you will, to get around that law, and I felt that it was something that should be codified here in the state, because the only thing that you would use that for would be to hurt other people.
Right.
As far as the school safety goes, I'm fortunate enough to be on the educational subcommittee. And we actually just pushed out this last year, and this was as a result of many school shootings that have happened over the last decade.
Right.
The school safety bill, which allowed an additional $10 million to build out and retrofit existing schools so that they have that security vestibule. That keeps folks from coming in the school and starting to shoot. They have that barrier where they can be locked down. There was also funding in there to do law enforcement at our schools. Cecil's ahead of the curve when it comes to protecting our students. So we have the sheriff's office that's present in the high schools. Yep. And then they can also rotate and go to different schools. Not every county is like that. So this bill that was passed, there's some funding in there, and then there's also guidelines that other school districts can share that information and protect our students. So I was very happy to work on that. It was actually the governor's bill. There was a competing bill in the Senate, and we were able to blend the two together and come up with a really good solution. So it's a big win for the students.
And do you expect more legislation like that in the coming years?
I do. During session, there was actually a shooting in Leonardtown in southern Maryland. Very tragic. And it was between a boyfriend and a girlfriend.
Right.
So these sort of shootings now are happening more often. They're happening for all sorts of reasons. But there's really two things that we can do. One is we need to make sure that our law enforcement is properly funded, and two is the training not only of the students but of the teachers. And I see that there will be more focus on that in the future. And the number of new schools that we have that are under construction and being built, I think you're going to see a greater emphasis on security going into that new construction, as well as the retrofit of the existing.
Great. Well, thanks so much for being here.
It was my pleasure. Yep. And I wanted to add one more thing, just because you mentioned that 4-star race.
Oh, yeah.
So we have the steeplechase race coming up this weekend.
Yes.
And I got a little secret for the viewers at home.
Oh, yes, I think I know this.
I was able to get in front of the governor and invite him to the race, and as far as I know, he'll be there. So I hope everyone can attend. It's going to be a hoot, and we haven't had a governor come in almost 20 years.
That's really exciting.
So make sure you're there. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, thanks.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sam Charles. For 30 years, I have been practicing functional medicine and gentle chiropractic. Elkton Chiropractic Neurology is dedicated to enhancing whole body rejuvenation, whether or not you are afflicted with injury or disease. We utilize a structural, neurologic, metabolic, nutritional, and energetic approach to restoring your body to its full potential.
After coming to Dr. Charles, I'm better than I was before.
You deserve to feel good and to have an active lifestyle, so why not call Elkton Chiropractic Neurology today?
Why should you advertise on Cecil TV? Because it is a totally new and unique way to reach the thousands of viewers that watch our programming. Plus, you'll be helping us grow as we expand our coverage. We have exciting plans, and your business or organization can be part of it. You will find our packages and rates to be refreshingly affordable, and we'll work with you to create a fresh and dynamic ad that says and shows what your business is about. Ask us how to get your commercial produced for free, so contact us on our website, Cecil.tv, or send an email to info@Cecil.tv. Thank you.
And now 30 at 6 welcomes Mike Dixon, historian, professor, lecturer, all-around Renaissance man. Mike, welcome.
How are you, Rob?
I'm doing great for an older gentleman, you know.
Wonderful.
One foot in front of the other, try not to fall down.
Wonderful.
Walking history is what I am. Just had a birthday, and I'm glad that we're talking about historical stuff because I can relate, having lived through a lot of it.
That's interesting, yeah.
So what are you going to educate us and talk to us about tonight?
Well, what do you know about the Mason-Dixon line?
What do I know? I know it's around here somewhere, okay? There's rocks delineating the line, and pretty much in common knowledge, write this down, this is very
I'm going to write this down. Let's see, we won't want to forget this.
The Mason-Dixon line delineates at least the cultural barrier between the North and the South, and that's all I know.
Oh, very good. How about if we talk about that for a few minutes?
Sure, sure.
So, when you travel around northeastern Maryland and Cecil County, 2 or 3 miles from here, anytime you go into Pennsylvania, you're crossing the Mason-Dixon line, Rob. And also when you go into Delaware, you're crossing the Mason-Dixon line. And it's an old line that really came out of a territorial dispute. You see the proprietors, like the royal owners or governors of Pennsylvania and Maryland, disputed who owned this part of Maryland. So if you go up to Calvert, that old Quaker meeting house, brick meeting house, and if you pause there, you'll see a historical marker. It talks about the Nottingham lots. Well, this fight had been going on for 70 or 80 years between the Maryland proprietors and the Pennsylvania proprietors, and Penn had enough of it. So he says, look, I'm just going to move Pennsylvanians down into northeastern Maryland in Cecil County, and I'm going to give them 500 acres of land for everybody that would come down here and settle.
Wow.
Wow. Can you imagine what they thought down in the proprietors of Maryland thought? They were not very happy about that, because what would happen is the Pennsylvania tax collector would go through Calvert and he'd say, you owe your taxes to the Penns this year. A couple months later, along would come the tax collector from Maryland and he'd say, you owe your taxes to Maryland. Well, it was causing a lot of confusion.
Double dipping, right?
Well, except I think some of them probably said, well, we paid the Pennsylvania proprietor, and then they would tell the Maryland guy that, we paid the proprietor. Maybe they paid neither one of them, but yeah, it was causing a lot of confusion. And think of how much is at stake is Philadelphia and Maryland, because the Calverts argued that Philadelphia was in Maryland. And the problem was when the King of England had granted the territory, he drew up just like really loose boundary clauses, and nobody really knew what was where. So Maryland sent a guy up by the name of Colonel Thomas Cressup. He had a ferry over by Port Deposit. And he says, well, if the Penns can do that to us in Calvert, we'll go up to Wrightsville, Pennsylvania in the Susquehanna, and we'll claim that part of York County for Maryland. So they did that, and back and forth they go for the longest time. Finally, we're heading toward the Civil War, or heading toward the Revolutionary War, and the King of England says enough of this trouble, and he orders 2 guys from England, 2 really talented surveyors and mathematicians, to come over and survey the Mason-Dixon line. So that's how we get the line, and that's why people in Calvert and places like that were once part of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Once it was done.
You say survey, they had transits and things like that back then.
Oh yeah, yeah, but now think, this is 1760s that we're talking about, so think of what that was like. The line literally begins at the state line down by Delmar, Delaware, comes up here to the corner by Fairhill, Louisville, and then it goes 200 some miles into western Pennsylvania. So think of that transit, and literally, Rob, they're using a chain, chaining it along.
And that's a lot of like cutting through underbrush and stuff like that.
Think of those western mountains as they got out west of Gettysburg and places like that, yeah. Of course, you brought up an interesting thing, the cultural meaning. What did you mean by that?
Well, just what I remember as a kid, my mom we'd ride by and cross the Mason-Dixon line. She goes, well, you're down south now, you know?
Yeah.
Cross the Mason-Dixon line, we're down south.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because you know, if I ask most people what they know about the line, they won't know anything about the survey and the boundary dispute. They'll know that cultural implication.
Right.
And that comes right out of the Civil War. And I'll tell you where it started was as the Civil War is coming up. See, if you were a slave, if you got over the Pennsylvania line, you were in free territory.
Ah.
So we had slaves in Cecil County. Chester County did not have. So that kind of starts that importance. Civil War comes, Pennsylvania's clearly on the side of, you know, the Union. Maryland was up in the air. We'll eventually decide to go with the Union, but it was mixed, and there were a number of Confederates who will leave here, people who will leave to fight in the Confederate Army. And so that's kind of where that thing about Dixie or the South starts here.
How about that? So the Underground Railroad, once a slave crossed over the Mason-Dixon line, they were good to go.
Yeah, well, yeah, basically. So here, if you were caught escaping, the sheriff's going to take you to the county jail in Elkton. You're going to be sent back to wherever you came from, and you're in a world of trouble. But once you got in Pennsylvania, there was a great deal of safety because the state had had banished slavery in 1800. Those Quakers were protective of it. So that was that sharp demarcation line that we see leads us up to the Civil War.
And the line still means something to us today at a certain level. And Mike, I got to tell you, my wife and I belong to the Historical Society, the Inkwell, your quarterly publication. And it's chock full of wonderful information. I highly recommend folks out there to join the Cecil County Historical Society. It's how much a year?
$20.
$20. And you can come every first Friday to the Historical Society on Main Street in Elkton. They lay out a spread of food and drink. They talk about all kinds of cool stuff, and they have a current exhibit. What's your current exhibit right now?
Fashions through the decades or generations.
What a deal.
Yeah.
And
the newsletter 4 times a year, so yeah, it's a good deal.
You know, they say, what did they say? If you don't understand history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, there's some good parts of history I'd like to repeat anyway, you know? And we're always glad to have you on the show, Mike.
Well, thank you. Pleasure seeing you again.
I'm Hannah Thiel, a life science teacher at Rising Sun Middle School, 7th grade. And over the past couple years, we have been taking the 7th grade students to Stone Run Creek, which runs right here through Rising Sun. And we've been doing water analysis, water quality testing. We've been testing the physical components, the chemical components, as well as the biological components of the stream. And we've been monitoring the health. And over time, we've seen a slight decrease in the health of this stream, at least at the one site that we've been testing. And so we plan to continue to monitor the stream, as well as try to implement other projects that might be able to benefit the health of this stream.
Okay, so something that I learned was that the importance and impact that our stream really has on the Chesapeake Bay, I never really realized how important it was to the entire environment and ecosystem around us.
For me, I liked that we got to join schools from all over the state to do this, and it was very fun, and I like to know that we made a change, and we helped with the summit, collect data with the water.
Does it excite you to do more with science, or maybe pursue careers in science?
Yeah, because going to the stream and getting involved in everything gives you a little insight into what it's really like to have that kind of job and that kind of field, and how interesting and fun it is to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, and when we went to Annapolis, we went on the boat, and I thought that was really fun. I loved looking at all the organisms and learning about all that.
I'm home. Wow, it's hot in here.
Grandma says call the Moon Man.
Moon Man, the AC is out and my family is melted.
At your service. There you go. Mission accomplished.
Thanks, Moon Man.
The house is nice and cool again. Moon Man, you're awesome. You're welcome. Just go to moonair8.com. For out of this world service, moonair8.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sam Charles. For 30 years, I have been practicing functional medicine and gentle chiropractic. Elkton Chiropractic Neurology is dedicated to enhancing whole-body rejuvenation, whether or not you are afflicted with injury or disease. We utilize a structural, neurologic, metabolic, nutritional, and energetic approach to restoring your body to its full potential.
After coming to Dr. Charles, I'm better than I was before.
You deserve to feel good and to have an active lifestyle, so why not call Elkton Chiropractic Neurology today?
Welcome back to 30 at 6. I'm Kitty McKitty, and I'm here with Nancy Sempers. Nancy is the president of the Cecil County Breeders' Fair, and they are running as the Fair Hill Races. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you.
So you're a Cecil County native.
Yes.
And you have been working with the Fair Hill Races for how long now?
52 years as a committee person.
Wow. So now tell us, why are we all excited about the races?
It's the largest single one-day event in the county, and there's something for everybody there, from the little kids to the grown-ups. We have Kids Corner, we have a village for the ladies that want to shop, we have betting for the gentlemen who like to bet the races, and there's something for everyone.
Fantastic. Okay, so now let's go back. Kids Corner. What do you have for the kids this year?
Kids Corner, the children can build stick ponies and ride in the stick pony race. They can have face painted, they can have pony rides, and just all kinds of things for the kids.
Fantastic. Now, so about the betting, apparently there's a little bit of a story about the betting behind this.
We're one of only 2 steeplechase race that has parimutuel betting, and in our program we do have a segment where you can learn to bet. It shows you how you can bet, and there's also people on the grounds that can help you.
And this is a very large event, a lot of moving pieces, so of course volunteers always needed.
Yes, we need lots of volunteers. We use volunteers for ushers, for hospitality, for running tickets, running lunches. Lots of volunteers are needed, and we appreciate all we can get.
Okay, and now, so more about the races. They are May 26th, the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, the gates open at 10 a.m. The first race is at 1 p.m. That you can bring a picnic, no bottles, no pets, but you can bring your own picnic and cooler, and there's something for everyone to do.
That is fantastic. So for more information, you can always email them at fairhillraces@gmail.com or log on to any of their websites, fairhillraces.org, .net, .co.com. I think we got them all covered.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for being here, Nancy, and good luck.
Mickey is also very fond of dominoes. There's nothing better than a good game of dominoes. Mickey likes all the boys at Fire Station number 10 in Minneapolis, but most of all, he likes best the domino players. So the boys play dominoes, and Mickey displays great interest. Oh, yes. There's one thing Mickey likes better than dominoes, and that's fires. Oh, boy, does he like fires. Gangway for Mickey the Polecat. Come on, Mickey. Don't be so camera shy. There's work to be done. There's nothing faster than riding with the chief. Here, here, keep that mouth shut. You're supposed to be excited. And say, where's your hat?